Now you got all these kids now, they want to, follow these types of fashions and things with the kuffar. This, whatever these pills are, red pill, blue pill, green, whatever, and let them choke on the pills. Trust me, if the people were to go back to the Quran and the Sunnah and learning this deen correctly, learning the Tawheed, and learning how to practice the deen according to the Sunnah, we would not be having the problems in the society that we have. And because we don't want to do that, then it's not for us to run around and blame the women and blame the children and blame everybody. Let's just throw in the old guys too, the elderly. Let's start blaming them too, because that way we can fulfill all the weakest elements of our society and just blame everybody to win. And when do we start to wake up? And then when do we start to take accountability and start to realize what the real problem is? بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. It came in a hadith of Abdullah ibn Umar رضي الله عنهما قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته والأمير راع والرجل راع على أهل بيته والمرأة راعية على بيت زوجها وولده وكلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. This hadith is in Bukhari and Muslim, and in this hadith the Prophet ﷺ said, he said that all of you have a responsibility, you have a role to play, that you have to be accountable for. He said كلكم راع, and a ra'in, of course, a ra'i is a person who herds, is like a shepherd, for the sheep. And so, just like a shepherd will be responsible over his flock to make sure that no danger comes to them. So the same thing is for these individuals that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned. He mentioned three people. He mentioned the Amir. So the person, the leader of the country, he has a responsibility. He has a responsibility to promote the Quran and the Sunnah, to make sure that the people have everything that they need, all the necessities, and that's his responsibility. But the most important thing is, of course, the issues of the deen. And if he doesn't fulfill that responsibility, then he's going to be held accountable for that on the Day of Judgment. And then also the man is responsible for his house, for the women in his house, and for the children in the house. And he has to bear that responsibility. And because the man, obviously, he goes out and he works and he does things to provide a living for the family. He provides food and everything for the family by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that he constantly, he's leaving the woman in charge of the house. So the woman now becomes in charge of what? Of the house, of making sure that, and the house and his kids, to make sure that everything in the house stays organized, that the kids are fed and everything in the house is cleaned, and just all the responsibilities that come with, controlling the house. So everybody has a responsibility. And it's not for any person or any, one of these people to sit back and not take the responsibility and then throw, the blame onto another. So for example, it's like the leader. He's the leader of the country and he's causing corruption in the land. Now, is he going to sit there and blame the people below him when he's the one that has the authority? So the same thing with the man in the house. The man in the house now, he has a responsibility. The first responsibility he has is for himself as a man, to learn his religion, to practice his religion, and to be obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. First off, you have to give the rights to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the rights that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has rights over you. And these are the most important rights to fulfill before you start talking about the rights that you have over your wife and over everybody else. So there came in a hadith of Mu'adh, and Mu'adh radiallahu anhu, which he said, كنت رديف النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم على حمار فقال لي يا معاذ أتدري ما حق الله على العباد وما حق العباد على الله قلت الله ورسوله أعلم قال حق الله على العباد أن يعبدوه ولا يشركوا به شيئا وحق العباد على الله أن لا يعذب من لا يشرك به شيئا قلت يا رسول الله فلا أبشر الناس فقال لا تبشرهم فيتكلوا. And this hadith is also in Bukhari and Muslim. So here Mu'adh, he said that he was riding behind the Prophet ﷺ on a donkey one day, and the Prophet ﷺ said to him, "O Mu'adh, do you know the rights that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has over his servants, and the rights that the servant has, that they have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if they fulfill the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first?" All right. And he said, Allah and His Messenger know best. He said, وَحَقُّ اللَّهِ عَلَى الْعِبَادِ أَنْ يَعْبُدُوهُ وَلَا يُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا. So the rights that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has over His servants is that they worship Him alone and they don't associate any partners with Him. Now the worship now is not just meaning just get up and just pray 5 times a day, because there's a lot of worship. And this is the purpose of why we constantly tell the people that we need to go back and study Tawheed correctly, because the problem is I don't think the people have the correct concept of what worship is. And because obviously they think that, okay, I pray my 5 salawat, Jumu'ah, and I, once in my lifetime I go to Hajj and fast in Ramadan, I'm done. Khalas, I'm good. And they forget about all the other things, all the other forms of worship. So Allahumma musta'an. And this is because of the lack of the dirasa Tawheed. Because these people now, we have all of these people of misguidance calling the people to everything except for the most important issues. So now the man himself is living his life not fulfilling the rights that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has over him. He's not worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala properly. He's not going back and learning the most basic issues of his religion. A man, doesn't even know where to find a hadith about wudu. A man doesn't even understand La ilaha illallah correctly. He goes out and, thinks that La ilaha illallah means this, or there's no God. What do they say? There's no God but Allah. I mean, you don't even understand the Shahada. And that's not even what it means in Arabic, because if you say there's no God but Allah, that means that everything that's worshipped is Allah. That's batil. And there's no God worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because if you understand the Arabic language and you understand the Arab of La ilaha illallah, you would understand that there's a mahdhuf. And the mahdhuf is a haqq, la ma'buda bi haqq, or la ma'buda haqqun illallah. But there's, again, it just goes back to the lackadaisical attitude of this generation of trying to even learn the most basics of their religion. So now we come to this type of this time where we live in, and inshallah, I'm just like today, I'm just talking. I'm not trying to be Mr. Formal, and I'm not trying to turn this into any type of muhadara or anything of that sort. This is just talk. And what we see now is we see that the men who are supposed to be responsible, we're the leaders of the community, where the masajid and everything that we have around us is supposed to be us that's supposed to be taking control of it. It's supposed to be us that's giving advice to the people. It's supposed to be us that are setting the standards for our kids to follow and for the whole community to follow. And if we do that job, and we do that job correctly, then everybody starts to fall in line. It's our advice. It's our job to advise the people, to guide the people by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to give them the correct irshad, to point them in the right direction. It's our job to sit down and learn our religion and to teach the people the correct fundamentals of this religion so that they can practice the deen correctly. This is our job. And if we fail to do our job, then we have nobody to blame but ourselves when our women aren't acting right, our children aren't acting right, and the whole community as a whole. And then what do? Because we don't want to take the responsibility that we're supposed to have. We want to go toss off the blame on the weakest elements of our society. We complain about the children. Oh, look at these children. They don't want to pay attention. They don't want to do anything. All they want to do is play games. Who bought them that? Who gave it to them? And who just left them to do that all the time? You. Are you up in your house? How much Islam is being practiced in your house? How many days, how much time do you spend a day reading the Quran in your house to set the example for the kids to follow? And the same thing for the women. You want the women to do what? The women are supposed to follow us, not us follow them. So how are we going to sit there and blame them for not acting right when we're not even setting the proper example? The majority of the men and you see throughout every single community have no concern about the deen. But mashallah, they want Umm al-Mu'mineen for their wife. They want a woman to do everything for them, but they don't want to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first. And they don't want to act on that hadith of Mu'adh, fulfill the rights that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has over you first. Fulfill those rights first. Do the things that you're commanded to do correctly first. Learn how to do them correctly first. But we don't. You see the community, nothing. But when it comes time to blame, and when we see the results of what we produced, now we want to just start blaming. This is the women, and this and that and that. Okay, we can blame all these organizations, like these liberal type Muslim organizations. Okay, why was nobody speaking about them before? The only people that have been warning against these people since way back has been Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Been warning against all of these people from way back. Everybody else was quiet. So Allah musta'an. But nobody wanted to listen. Now we look at the results. When you didn't want to take the advice, when the people were coming with Quran and Sunnah trying to advise you that this is not permissible, ikhtilat is not permissible, all of these types of things that you see, where you see these du'at sitting in the masjid with his feet up, sitting in front of a whole bunch of pink hijabs, not permissible. We've been saying this for decades, but nobody wants to listen. But now you see the results. Now you see people that you can't control now, because you were quiet about this issue from before. And it's very simple. من رأى منكم منكرا فليغيره بيده فإن لم يستطع فبلسانه فإن لم يستطع فبقلبه. So now it's upon the people of authority. If they have the ability to change it with their hands, change it with your hands. And you have this authority in your house to change it with your hands. Kids don't want to listen, they want to play on the phone, take the phone from them. You the one that gave it to them. It's your responsibility. You have the authority to do that. And then now you want to understand now why people like these types of people now that are just running through and speaking. Look at that. Look at it now. That they have such a big audience now. People don't want to listen to advice. So people from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah have been advising for decades against this type of behavior. Against the ikhtilat. Against this, like, soft behavior with women and laughing and joking and carrying on like we're all buddies and all that type of stuff. You want to talk to the girl, you want to laugh with the girl, you want to sit there and sit in the masjid with the girl, marry her. We've been saying this for decades. This is nothing new from Ahl Sunnah. But now the thing is people don't want to listen to that. Now that it's gotten to the point where now you got all these kids now, they want to, follow these types of fashions and things with the kuffar. This, whatever these pills are, red pill, blue pill, green, whatever. Let them choke on the pills. Let them choke on the pills. They want to do taqleed of the kuffar, let them choke on their pills. The point is that we need to get back to following the Quran and the Sunnah. This is what we have to have. And following the Quran and the Sunnah, number one, is taking accountability for our actions. Taking accountability for our communities as men. And not sitting there throwing the blame off on the weakest element of society. Women are underneath our care. We're the ones that are supposed to be in control of everything. And women have a responsibility, and it's their duty to learn their responsibility and fulfill it also. But it's also our duty to learn relearn the religion and also be a teacher for them. And most of these guys, they got married, and wallahi, they don't even know the ahkam of nikah. But mashallah, and then you talk about all the other issues that a man should know. A man should have the knowledge, and a man should be able to teach that knowledge to the people. That's a part of being a man, is having knowledge and teaching the people and giving guidance to the people and giving advice to the people. So this is the thing that needs to be fulfilled first. Sitting online and just sitting there complaining about the women. What type of behavior is this? It's not the behavior of a man. You take accountability, and if anybody's going to blame anybody, you blame yourself. And it's just what the Prophet ﷺ said in a long hadith. He said, فَمَنْ وَجَدَ خَيْرًا فَلْيَحْمِدِ اللَّهِ. And he said, whoever amongst you finds good, let him praise Allah. Allah gave you the tawfiq to do the things correctly. And then everything came together correctly. Praise Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you the tawfiq. فَمَنْ وَجَدَ خَيْرَ ذَلِكَ. And whoever finds anything other than this, فَلَا يَلُمَنَّ إِلَى نَفْسَهُ. And don't blame anybody but yourself. You only blame yourself. All the good that we have in this society, it comes from Allah. It comes from what He's given us from the deen, from the Quran and the Sunnah. And us practicing that. If we don't see that good, then that means that we don't have it. It's not being practiced. Trust me, if the people were to go back to the Quran and the Sunnah and learning this deen correctly, learning the Tawheed, and learning how to practice the deen according to the Sunnah, we would not be having the problems in the society that we have. And because we don't want to do that, then it's not for us to run around and blame the women and blame the children and blame everybody. Let's just throw in the old guys too, the elderly. Let's start blaming them too, because that way we can fulfill all the weakest elements of our society and just blame everybody. To when? And when do we start to wake up? And then when do we start to take accountability and start to realize what the real problem is? and how we're going to solve this problem. We're not going to solve this problem listening to these fools on social media and running around red pill this and red pill. Like I said, choke on your red pill. Choke on it. We're going to learn. We're going to get back to the izzah that we had. Going back to the Quran and the Sunnah. Just like Umar ibn Khattab said. Umar ibn Khattab said, نَحْنُ قَوْمٌ أَعَزَّنَا اللَّهُ بِالْإِسْلَامِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us izzah bil-Islam. He said, وَمَحْمَا تَغَيْنَا الْعِزَّةَ فِي غَيْرِهِ. And whenever that we go and we search for that izzah and something other than Islam, أَذَلَّنَا اللَّهُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will debase, like cause us to become debased and low. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raises us up when we take our izzah from Islam, from following the Quran and the Sunnah, from calling the people to Tawheed. That's where our izzah comes from. That was the izzah that you saw the Sahaba had. If you want to get that back, you get it back correctly. You don't get it back by acting like a punk, getting on social media, blaming everybody but yourself. We take responsibility, and we have to realize that the women acting like how they're acting is not the problem. It's a symptom of the problem. You want to sit there and go attack their symptoms. Now we need to get back to the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is the miseducation of the Muslim. And the people have been teaching the Muslims wrong. All of these people, from these du'at al-abwab jahannam, all these du'at as-su, min bani jildatina wa yatakallamun bi alsinatina. All of these types of people that have been calling the people to all this type of chaos for all these years. There's nothing that they could do now to change all the evil that they've done in this country and all of the West. So it's our responsibility now that we see the problem and to fix the problem at its root, and let's stop chopping at the symptoms and trying to just cure the symptoms while the full sickness still remains in the body. We want to cure the sickness. We don't want to cure one of the symptoms. So the children acting up, the women acting up, that's a symptom. That's not the problem. The problem is a lack of the correct education with the Muslim. We're not teaching the Muslims correctly. And when we start to do that, and the Muslims start to take this knowledge of this deen seriously, then you start to see that change that you're looking for. Until then, keep your mouth shut. Stop complaining. Complaining is for the women. You keep talking about the women. Stop acting like them. Allahumma musta'an. Wa ila hana subhanaka wa bihamdik. Shadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.